This is just absolutely horrible. Millions of moms and young kids are going to lose WIC food assistance within 2 weeks if the government's still shut down. We're talking formula. We're talking food. Not good.
If the Democrats do not vote to open the government tonight, the special supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children will run out of federal money very soon. This program provides vouchers to buy infant formula, fresh fruits and vegetables, and other healthy foods for low-income families.
If you are a mother or you have an infant and you receive WIC benefits, you need to listen to what I'm finna say. Because of the government shutdown, there's going to be a lot of states that lose funding with specific programs. If you are a mother and you have a child and you receive WIC benefits, those benefits may get cut by the end of this week. You might lose your WIC benefits because the government's not open. And that means
angle, but I'm breastfeeding. This is very important. Families on WIC. If you have WIC benefits, use them now, because with this government shutdown, WIC is going to run out of funding. So if you have any benefits left over this month, go and use what you can. Stock up on freezer vegetables and fruit, like whatever you can. Get your benefits used, because we don't know how long this government shutdown is going to last for, and WIC probably only has enough funding to last another week or two. So use those benefits.
So y'all just gonna let kids starve in Alabama? Did I hear that right? Women and children in Alabama may not eat because the state is about to run out of food assistance funding? This is what I don't understand. Government always has money for wars, for tax cuts, for some billionaire's pet project. But when it comes to feeding family, suddenly the wallet kind of just snaps shut. We're talking about women and children and babies. People who actually need food to live. And Alabama is basically saying, good luck, I hope you're not hungry. And it's not just irresponsible, it's cruel. And all of this goes back to Republican Congress, right? Because they're not showing up to do their jobs, so by proxy, women and children are going to suffer and starve. Don't forget, these same politicians swear up and down they're for the people, they're pro-people and pro-family, pro-baby. That only counts when they're talking about people. You know, the people that are corporations, those people. Because when it's time to feed actual families, the compassion dries up real quick. Government is supposed to work for the people. But right now, it looks like the people are just working to survive while government plays favorites with billionaires. And if you're not mad about it, you should be. Because today it's Alabama. Tomorrow it could be your state.
I have to be careful how I say this because like my last video got taken down. WIC benefits will possibly be cut off or restricted or lowered due to the government shutdown. As soon as next week, it's a possibility that your WIC will either be lowered or possibly cut off due to the shutdown. Now, that's completely different from what's going on with our food stamp situation. I just want to make sure I'm very clear on this, and do your own research. I'm also still researching, but I'm saying in the meantime, if you need help with formula, if you need help with food, if you need help with anything pertaining to you or your baby or family things, go to your church, okay? Okay, I don't want to spread no misinformation. I'm just saying what I just seen and what I just looked up. That's what it's looking like. You can go do your own research and make sure. Fact check me anyway.
Breaking news, we got word that the WIC program will be running dry in between 1 to 2 weeks if the government shutdowns continues. That means that nearly 7 million users can lose access to nutritious foods if states cannot step in. Some states can use their backup funds to actually narrow the gap and continue providing those services to their families.
Alright, I'm just gonna say this. If you're a parent in America or you happen to know one, this story should actually scare you, because millions and millions of women and kids could actually go hungry in the next few weeks. And this is not because there is food shortage. It's not because they did anything wrong. So basically, the government just hit pause on itself in the government shutdowns, and that means that mothers cannot buy milk for their toddlers. Can you make that make sense? Now, for those who might not know, we are talking about WIC, the Special supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children. Now, this is not a luxury. It's food, it's formula, and it's literally survival for over 6 million people across the country. And now, because of the government shutdowns, that safety net is about to snap. All because the Repubs keep blaming the Dems, and the Dems keep blaming the Repubs. And people's nutrition, especially women and infants, is at stake right now. You might not even realize how close to home this hits, because WIC is one of those invisible programs that keeps families afloat. Maybe your neighbor, your coworker, your cousin depends on it. You'd never know, actually, until the card stops working. That's when you actually realize that these people had a lifeline that was keeping them afloat. Now, this is one of the reasons why people keep showing no sympathy to MAGA voters, because this is one of the policies that they helped put in office, policies that are affecting millions and millions of Americans. But let's take a look at these videos that I've sampled for you guys. I'll be back with more commentary. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. I'm a presenter, Joel Mugisha. Let's take a look.
If you are a mother and you have a child and you receive WIC benefits, those benefits may get cut by the end of this week. You might lose your WIC benefits because the government's not open. And that means that the people that have to sign the approvals, the people that have to put the things on other people's desks for signatures, the people that have to go and they have to communicate with the other departments about how much and where and when and how, they are not at work. And that means that the money is not allocated, and that department cannot give that money to that state. So if you don't have the department that hands the money to the state, that means the state doesn't have the funds to hand out to the women and children who are on these programs, specifically WIC. So that means if the money is not allocated and it's not given to these women and children, that means that they're not going to get it, and they're not going to be able to provide for their children. This is going to affect millions and millions and millions of women across the United States of America, because they depend on those benefits in order to get, they need formula. A lot of times they need milk. Like, these things are expensive in the United States of America. Like, these women need that money. The government needs to resume business and stop all this fucking foolishness. And I'm so sick and tired of everybody being affected just because politicians cannot do what the fuck they need to do.
Over 6 million women and children are at risk of going hungry because of this fucking government shutdown. They have 2 weeks left in their funding for WIC. 1.5 million left. And that's only going to last them 2 weeks to feed women and children on WIC. This program provides food and nutrition for pregnant moms, breastfeeding moms, and newborn babies. So if they don't open the government in the next 2 weeks, then WIC is not going to have any funding to provide any type of food and nutrition for moms and new babies. And then SNAP is going to be next. They only have enough funding for SNAP till the end of November. So Mike Johnson and you fucking Republicans need to stop fucking playing with our lives and open the fucking government and negotiate with the Democrats. They're literally taking food from newborn babies just because they don't want to extend the subsidies so that millions of people don't lose their fucking health care. Because nobody can afford for their health care to go up $700-800 extra per fucking month. But the Republicans don't give a fuck about that. The only thing they care about is trying to make the Democrats look bad. Trying to make it look like the Democrats are trying to give trans surgeries and free health care to illegal immigrants, knowing damn well that they're trying to make sure millions of Americans don't lose their fucking health care. Because when people lose their health care and can't be seen by a doctor, they die. If they don't reopen the government within 2 weeks, then they're going to have to rely on state funding for these programs. And most states do not have the fucking funding for these programs. This just goes to show you that the Republicans don't give a fuck about the American people. American families shouldn't have to go hungry just because the Republicans don't want to do their fucking job.
So if Congress doesn't resolve the federal funding impasse, WIC could run out of money within a week or two, according to the National WIC Association. The 50-year-old program, which has long had bipartisan support, serves nearly 7 million pregnant women, new mothers, infants, and young children, and has been shown to improve families' health. The U.S. Department of Agriculture told state agencies last week that due to the lapse in funding, they will not receive their quarterly allocation of fiscal 2026 money for WIC. This is terrible. Now, however, October, the department said it intends to allocate up to $150 million in contingency funds to state WIC agencies suffering from shortfalls. Also, states can use rebates from infant formula manufacturers as well as their own funds. Nutrition programs will operate based on state choice in the length of a shutdown. If Democrats do not fund the government, the special supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children will run out of funding and states will have to make a choice. This is the USDA saying this. People, I looked this up. It's the real deal. Google even said WIC will not stop immediately, but its funding is limited and could run out within 1 or 2 weeks if the current government shutdown continues. This is awful. Babies that need formula. Kids that need food. WIC participants are up to 7 million. Why do we pay taxes? Where does it go? This just makes me sick.
The government is still shut down, and this much we all know, but it was just announced just tonight that Trump is going to take the money that the United States has gotten from tariffs, and he's going to use that money in order to continue funding the WIC program. The WIC program where when you have a baby, you can file for WIC if you're low income, and you can buy like formula and fruits and baby food and all that stuff. I think you get it up till kids are like 5. But he's going to use the tariff money to go ahead and just keep funding that. And that got me thinking, because I just saw another report a couple days ago where they were like, this shutdown could continue on for weeks and weeks and weeks. Weeks and weeks and weeks. What if, one by one, each program just continued to then just get funded by tariffs, just temporarily, until the government can open back up and they can decide on a bill, maybe, what if they just stay closed forever, and one by one we just start funding these programs back with tariff money, and then by the time that Congress does come back to work and do nothing, which is what they do, right? Then they also get funded by tariff money, probably significantly less since it's coming from the government, right? And then they just stop taking income tax out of our paychecks. Wouldn't that be awesome? What if the government just stayed closed for a year? And all these programs just continued to just keep being funded. Terry could just keep getting paid, and you could get all of your benefits still and everything. Because you had to have no idea that the government was even closed if the news didn't tell you, because none of these people do anything. Anna Paulina Luna went on a podcast. She's so concerned about the government shutdown that she went on a podcast. What if it just stayed shut down? Because they're not doing anything good for you anyway. Just keep it shut down. Fund the programs with using the tariffs, okay? And then when they're ready to go back to work, just cancel the income tax. Let that be the first thing that you push for them to do. I think it's a great idea.
If you receive WIC benefits, pay attention. The White House announced that it will use the tariffs revenue to keep the WIC nutrition program running while the government shutdown continues. As we know, WIC was projected to run out of funding in between 1 to 2 weeks during the current contingency plan. Now, it is also mentioned that this is a creative resolution to fund the program for the foreseeable future. Now, the WIC Association responded to this news cautiously, and they say that the move is welcome, but it's uncertain. This because they have a lot of questions in terms of how much money they will receive, when the states will receive the money, and how long these funds will last. This is not a permanent fix. It's basically a lifeline. States, families, and Congress still have big decisions ahead about long-term funding.
Alright guys, there you have it. Actually, I want us to start by understanding what is WIC or WIC program, because for instance, and honestly, so many people think that it's some random government handout. It's not, because it's one of the most successful nutrition programs in US history. WIC helps about 6.6 million of moms and kids every month. Can you believe that? Every month, 6.6 million of moms and kids. That's actually food, formula, breastfeeding support, nutrition, education, and the basic survival for families with low income in America, because that is the majority, if we're being honest. And this program was literally started back in 1974 because lawmakers realized that if kids are hungry, they can't learn. If mothers are malnourished, babies get sick, and it's common sense. Public health is at stake, and the economy might be at stake, because the more the population, the better the economy, and the lesser the population, the lesser the economic power. This is one of the reasons why countries like China actually got to become big in terms of economy, because of their huge population. Now, if you want to take care of the country's economy of tomorrow, you take care of kids, because those are the future. They are actually your country's tomorrow, in layman's language, for lack of a better word. And guess what? Research shows that WIC reduces infant mortality, low birth weight, and long-term health costs. This isn't charity. It's a smart government investment in human life, because the government does actually need that, because a healthy population of infants is tomorrow's healthy population of workers, for instance, that actually contribute to the economy through paying taxes and also being productive for the economy. Now, you might ask yourself, how does this government shutdown actually hit WIC? When the government shuts down, programs like Social Security or SNAP keep running automatically, but WIC runs on annual funding. So when Congress doesn't pass a budget, it's one of the first to get frozen. Let that sink in. Now, that means that when lawmakers start arguing over spending bills, WIC clinics actually have to ask, how many days of food vouchers do we have left? Right now, states are relying on emergency funding and formula rebates, but those might actually die out very soon, and some could run out in just weeks. We have to remember that all this is happening while the people holding the stopwatch are politicians who still actually get paid during the government shutdown. Do you think that's fair? Of course not, because these are public workers put in place to serve the public. Yet people are just being in misfortunes because of their decisions, their arguments, and people actually are running at risk of losing this kind of support, this kind of nutrition. This is one of those things that you don't want to mess with, because if you mess with any kind of generation of infants, population, it actually comes back to bite you later. Because you need it, especially now that the orange man is deporting Latinos and other illegal immigrants left, right, and center. You actually need your own healthy population of American citizens, because now otherwise you might actually end up relying on immigrants again. Since this government is actually anti-immigrants, you have to take care of your babies. You have to take care of the mothers who are giving birth to new kids, new people, the population of tomorrow that is gonna help the economy to keep running, and the US to actually keep on competing on the global stage as one of the largest, if not the largest economy in the whole world. What do you think about this? But we have to put every population and statistics aside. These are human beings and they deserve better. Everybody deserves assistance, especially for people who cannot help themselves, especially for mothers and for infants. These are people who are most vulnerable and they need this kind of assistance. What do you think about this? This is the report that I have so far. I hope they are going to do something about this WIC, the Women, Infants and Children Nutritional Support, and I hope they can find a way to actually fund this, because this affects people who are most vulnerable. Mothers who just gave birth cannot go to work, and infants cannot take care of themselves. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about this? I'm a presenter Joel Mugisha. If you're new, kindly consider subscribing, hit that like button. See you in the next episode.